Okay, so now we're ready to start talking about parameterized functions. But before we do that, I want to have a very quick discussion of what we call variable scope. And basically, okay, I have a program here. We have the main function, and then I have this little function at the bottom, some function. And if I create a variable, let's say I create a variable called x in main, and I'll set that to 0. Okay, x has what we call local scope. Okay, and what that means is this variable was created inside of main and it can only be seen and used inside of main. So if I go to my function down here and I try to say x equals 9, the compiler is complaining. And if I hover over this, it says identifier x is undefined. That's the compiler's way of saying x. What are you talking about? There's no x in here. So we have to be mindful of this. Now that we're breaking up our program into smaller parts, you might not be able to use a variable at some place in your program. This was never an issue before because everything we did was in main. So I think of your program as like a house, and every function, including the main function, is like a room in the house, and variables created in one room cannot be seen and used from within another room, basically. So with that in mind, and we'll talk more about scope in a later video, but let me remove this. Okay, with that in mind, how do we pass data back and forth between functions? Well, one way to get data into a function is through parameters. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at these parentheses. You think of these parentheses as a doorway into the function where you can pass data in. So I have this print char function that's going to print a character. Okay, and the thing with any character, and we're going to pass that character to the function and say, here, print this smiley face, print this heart, whatever we feel like. And so this is like the doorway into the function. So we're going to pass this function a character. So in the doorway here, or what we would typically call the parameter list, I'm going to add a parameter. This is just a variable declaration here. I'm creating a character variable. A parameter is a variable. It's a special variable that is created by the function and used in the function, and it's used to pass data into the function. So we're creating a character type. I'm just going to call it CH. You choose the name, whatever you want. And so that's the prototype. And so I've copied the prototype and I pasted it down below for the definition because I told you it's very important to get everything straight. And so this is the definition. There's just a cout statement. We're going to print whatever character was passed into the function. And that character that was passed into the function is going to be in this ch variable, in the parameter variable. So it's very important that I use that variable name, the parameter name, in the function code. Okay, because that's where the data is. That's where the character is. Okay, so that is the definition. Now let's look at the function call. I've got a couple of function calls here, but okay, so I'm saying, hey, you print char, run your code. Here is a heart. Okay, I passed a hard-coded heart here. An escape sequence you can think of as just a single character, even though it's 3 characters. Recall that characters go in single quotes, but in any case, I'm passing a heart to that function. And everything's got to match perfectly. So if you have a parameterized function and you try to call it without a parameter, the compiler is going to complain. So in any case, there it is. And in this, and by the way, when you're passing the data that you're passing to a parameter is called an argument. That's another term I want you to know. So the argument is the data that you're passing that'll ultimately end up in that function parameter. But it's the data that the function needs, the items that the function needs to do its job. Those are called arguments. In this case, we just have a single argument for the single character parameter. And then here, same thing, although I'm passing a diamond in this case. And you don't have to pass hard-coded parameters. You can also pass a variable. Like I've created this character variable here called smile. I put a smiley face in it, and then I'm passing the variable name, basically. And that's going to work all the same.